Today I'll be using watercolor to add color to a 3D embossed panel. Stay tuned. Hi there everyone, welcome to Creative Coloring with Erum. I love using 3D embossing folders, and today I will be using watercolors to add a color to an embossed panel. I'll be creating a watercolor panel to frame so that I can gift this to my cousin on her wedding day. I'll be using the Enchanted Beginnings 3D embossing folders, and I have created a couple of other projects using this folder. I love coloring dresses. I'll be using the 5x7 watercolor cardstock. This is the hot press cardstock. It is a smooth cardstock. For my project today, I'll be using a mix of watercolors. I will be using the Artist Watercolor 24 pan set along with the watercolor tubes, and also a bit of gouache plus metallic watercolor 14 pan set to add details. Gouache for the floral detail and the metallic paint for the sparkle. I will start by applying water over the entire dress. I'm using the Altenew No. 3 round brush. You can use any brush you are comfortable with. I will use a mix of purple and blue for the dress. I will mix both of these on the palette and also on the cardstock so that I get a variation of shades on the dress and not just one color. While coloring, I will move my panel around and also tilt it so that the water and paint flows into the grooves. In this watercolor, I will not focus much on adding shading or shadow details, so you won't see me enhancing the dress folds, though you can definitely do that. For this particular one, I wanted a very airy, flowy feel to the dress. So the idea was just to add colors and maybe even slightly two tones in places where I will add more blue. To change the hue, I will keep adding more purple or more blue to my color mix on the palette, or create a new color mix depending on what I want. I will also mix other shades of blue, so there are hints of other shades on the dress. You can't tell in photos, but you can see the variation in person. Or maybe if you just look very closely in the photos, you'll be able to see. The dress is more purple on the left and on the top compared to the bottom right. I won't overblend when adding color so that these different pigments show through. There's a high chance I will lose the texture and detail of the embossing folder, so don't worry about that if you do lose the texture. Once the dress is done, you can run the panel again through the embossing machine and repeat this step whenever you want to. Or do this at the very end after finishing your painting. While the dress color dries a bit, I will add color to the floral bouquet and add more flowers to it, making it my own and fuller than it is. This will also balance the dress and add to the garden floral theme. This will start as a loose watercolor to create a base and then eventually build up to form some shape. For this, I did not start by adding water first. I added paint directly as I wanted to leave some spaces white so I could add leaves. To add the leaves, I've chosen one of the fine watercolor brushes from Altenew, so it is easier to add color to the small areas without mixing the colors too much. The colors will mix a bit, but I'm not too worried about it. I like the look. I don't want very sharp lines, but more of a loose watercolor effect. Now on to the gentleman's suit. Similarly, I will apply water to the entire area that I want to color. I actually wanted to color this suit gray, but for it to not stand out too much, I added a bit of purple to it so that it coordinated with the dress, but still looked gray. Just a different temperature than the pigment in the pan set. And sometimes you have to mix colors to balance the painting. If I were to use the black pigment as is, it would not look bad, but my vision and color palette would have changed. I did make a mistake when I colored the ground and chose a very mossy green for the grass instead of a cooler green. It's a habit. I normally use mossy green for grass most of the time, and without thinking I reached out for the olive green color mix on my pan. But I tried to fix it on the panel without making much mess. When adding shading to the gentleman's suit, what I did is I increased the concentration of the same pigment, added that to the already wet areas and let it spread on its own. So I applied it on the edges, keeping the middle light. Once I've colored the suit, I will go back and add more color to the dress. I'm making it slightly darker than before, following the lines or grooves of the embossing folder and smoothing the paint out, but not worrying about blending the color. Next, I will add a light color wash of the same purple pigment to the background. I will make this darker, closer to the image. This is just the first color wash. I do go back in later on to add more pigment. So I ran the panel through the embossing machine, and this is my first time embossing it after the initial embossing. I did not need to, but I thought I would do it just once so that it's not as warped. And you can see that the embossing is visible again. The coloring doesn't look beautiful. It's rough and messy, but that's fine. Most of it will get covered up anyway, and that's the beauty of it. I will use titanium white gouache and add some of it on my pan. Then I will start adding some small flowers on the trail of the dress. I will vary the size of the flowers and add a yellow gouache as the flower centers. Now I will mix a bit of white to the yellow gouache so that it shows on the purple dress. To fill in the space and add faux sparkle, I will start adding various sized dots along the length of the dress using the same white gouache. You can even use the metallic watercolor from the metallic watercolor 14 pan set. And I will add that too in a bit, but not a lot, only to show a bit of shine. And that too is only visible in person, not in photos or in video. The white gouache will be enough for this. You can also use your silver gel pen from the must-have gel pen set. That would work as well. The faux sparkle and flowers are what will add the magic to the dress and the panel. The guy is just there to hold the bouquet. If you want, you can use the metallic watercolor to add shine. You will only be able to see this in person. On screen, this will appear the same as the white paint. I also tested out some aqua metallic watercolor. The main metallic watercolor that I added was a mix of sterling and amethyst, the purple one. Also, I mixed the sterling and amethyst because the amethyst itself was dark. But you can use a mixture of sterling and amethyst, and also just amethyst to show a variation of shades. To add more detail and some more whimsy, I thought I would add grass and wildflowers. I will start by adding my first mistake, the yellow color, instead of a cool green, making more mistakes and turning it into warmer greens. You need to start with a lighter green instead of yellow, then add a darker green pigment. Because when I added my purple flowers on there, they turned warm too. I realized my mistake here. I was enjoying myself too much actually, so I just continued working on instead of fretting. Apart from choosing the wrong shades for my greenery, the coloring process is correct. I aimed for a softer watercolor grassy look with not too evident florals, except for the gouache ones that I will add. Even the grass strokes that I will add are going to be wet on wet, which will diffuse. Once I'm somewhat happy with the ground, I will dry the panel before adding gouache to it. Again, I'm going to stick to the same colors and try to cover up some of this magenta that is happening, but not too much. Nature does not match our dresses. I first added some white flowers and splatters. Then I added more white flowers because they looked really nice. Next, I added some different sized dots next to those flowers to make the area look fuller. Splatters work really well if you want to hide something, hide the imperfections, or make something look better. It also just hid a bit of that color. Once I'm happy with the look, I will set this aside to dry. I went back to add a few more leaves to the bouquet to match the grass and make the ground around the guy slightly darker because my nephew asked 2 questions. Whether the guy was up in the air or short. So I knew I was really neglecting the guy. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
Hello there! Did that video just spark your creativity? And do you want more project ideas and inspiration videos too? Well, if you do, please make sure that you subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you do click that notification bell so you don't miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.